I'm going to be installing this Pioneer GM-9605 in my 2008 Honda Ridgeline. I got some speaker wire. This is 100% OFC copper. And I got six RCA cables. I don't have a sub at this time. I got let's see. I got 4 of these right now on my doors. So this is gonna power that, and when I get the subs, it's gonna power that as well. I got this amp install kit, I think on eBay. It's 100% OFC copper. It claims to be anyways, and it seems pretty good, and I got it for a very good price. 50 bucks. You can't beat that. It's 4 gauge. So yeah. I'm also going to be installing a voltmeter, which is going to be connected to the amp and mounted on my dash so that I could see the voltage going through my amp and make sure my battery isn't dying. And here's my Honda Ridgeline in the garage. This is my first time doing this, by the way. First thing I'm gonna do is unhook that negative battery cable. So this is the front seat floorboard, and I got a hanger. I poked a hole in this rubber grommet. This is where I'm gonna feed the power cable through, which is gonna be fed to the amp. So here you got the hanger coming through the firewall. Hard to see, but here it is. It's coming through here. And here's my power cord. Power cable. I taped it with electrical tape onto this hanger. Now I'm gonna take some WD-40. What this is gonna do is give it some lube so it can slip through that hole. I had to do a little finessing, but I got her in, you know, it's just like any other day. So I'm gonna pull this through. Motherfucker. Alright. Sorry for my language. Now this cable can slide right on through here. So I ran this power cord through, and I ran it to the back just to make sure that I have enough. That's where the amp's gonna go. Now what we're gonna do is pop this here off, whatever the hell you call it. Kick panel, I don't know, but this should just come right off. On most cars there's some clips that holds it in. So I run the power cord from there all the way down the door, through the back, just the same, up under here, around here, behind the carpet, and it comes out right here. This is where the amp will sit for now until I get the sub, which when I get the sub it will sit up a little higher. And this goes right in there. Next, I'm going to be installing the amp meter. I already took the dash off, and it'll go through here, down through here, and follow the same line to the back. Okay, so I've ran my remote wire and my base knob wire along the same path, the doorway. Here's the remote wire, and it's gonna hook up to the base knob right here. And the remote wire, which turns the amp on, I've wired up here. I've already took the radio out. This is gonna eventually hook into right here where you see the remote system remote control. This turns on the amp when the radio turns on. When you turn on the ignition, the radio comes on, runs power through this cord and tells the amp to turn on. I'm also gonna run the voltmeter along the same path, but I have to wait till I put the dash back on to do that, so I'm gonna do that later. But I think next I'm gonna start running the speaker wire down the other side of the door. I want to show you guys a trick. With all of these wires, instead of taking this panel off, which you could take this panel off, but you would have to unscrew the seat belt there. Instead of doing that, I was basically taping the wire on the hanger and stringing it through there, stringing it straight through, pushing it through to the other side. That made it a lot easier to get it through this piece here. And I also did the same thing to get it through this carpet. I would tape it onto the end of this hanger and string it through here. And as you can see, there goes my remote wire, there's my power wire, and there's my amp knob coming through the carpet, which they will hook to the amp when I'm ready for it to happen. Now I have to take my speaker wire on the opposite side of the door, opposite side of the power over there. You have to put it on the opposite side, that way your speaker wires don't pick up any interference from the power that's running through the power wire. So you have to run your speaker wire and your RCA's cables on the opposite side, so on the other door. My power cable's running on that side, my speaker wires and my RCA are going to be running on this side. I have to string we're going to start with the speaker wire. I got to string it on up here, up under here, and eventually it's going to string across and come out with the radio. Once it's in the radio, I will wire it up to the correct wires it's supposed to go to. But for right now, I'm going to work on getting these speaker wires up along here, probably through the carpet, up there, and up the dash somehow. Be right back. So what I did right now was take off the glove compartment. I just let it hang. Sorry I didn't show you how to do that, but there's these little clips that come off on each side, and it allows the glove box to come down, and it just hangs there. So I'm going to string it through the glove box, and it comes out this way. I'm going to have to zip tie it down there nice and neat. There's another wire that I'm going to zip tie it to, or something under here. but I'm gonna do that and I'll be back. So, to get my glove box to go down, there's these little things here. They fit in here. And clip in. When they're clipped in, it stops the glove box from coming down. So when you pull them out, you just squeeze these. This is hard to do. You squeeze these two things together. Like that. And then that pops it out. I'm about to call tonight and pick this up tomorrow morning, but as you can see, I got my RCA cables and my speaker wire cables coming through the dash where they will connect to the CD player. They're running along the door to the back seat, along the back here. The RCA comes out there and we'll plug in right there. And over here I got the bass control knob, speaker wires, power and remote all sticking out ready to be connected. And I'll pick this up in the morning because I need to go to sleep. So it's the next day, 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm working on wiring up this fuse. I read it has to be between 12 and 6 inches from the end. And I guess I'm gonna mount it on this wire down here. I can't really see a good place to mount it, so I'm gonna work on that right now. I decided to screw this in on this battery bracket so it's nicely secured there. The wire here will just connect, and this wire follows this other wire harness, and I zip tied it to it, and should be pretty good, pretty secure. Just finished installing the ground wire. I cleaned off the paint really well off the over here, and I put one self-tapping screw in there. It's a washer self-tapper, so it fit around the hole really well, and then I ran the wire through here and it comes out here. Now I'm gonna wire up the speaker wires. This was already wired just straight to the head unit, so now I gotta cut all these speaker wires off the head unit harness, and these speaker wires are gonna go to the speaker wires that hook to the amp, and the signal that goes from the head unit to the amp will be with the RCA cables. So I just gotta snip these off and connect this side to my speaker wire cables that go to the amp, and then I'll just tape these up aside because I won't need to use these anymore. So I got that done. I hooked all the speaker wires from the wire harness to the speaker wires for the amp. You got to make sure that you connect the positive to your positives, your negatives to your negatives. So for this black speaker wire, one of the wires is square, one is round. I just decided to make the square one positive. So you do it any way you want, and then this clear wire has a positive marking on it, but you can't, it's right there. So when I go back to hook to the amp, I gotta make sure to connect the square to the positive and the round to the negative. make sure to keep the positives and negatives the same, otherwise you're gonna have problems. Alright. So at this point I've connected my remote wire here in the middle, my ground and my power wires, and I've also connected 4 of my RCA cables, because right now I don't have a subwoofer. When I get a subwoofer I can connect these 2. And in the front I've connected the RCA cables to the stereo, and I've also plugged in the wiring harness here to the stereo. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this going, and I'm going to test the speakers. And so I got everything hooked up, and then I realized that my head unit only has 2 RCA inputs. And I thought, okay, well, I'll just go ahead and hook the door speakers up to those 2 until I get a subwoofer. But turns out that one of the RCA inputs is just for subwoofers, so I can't even run my rear speakers on it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep the front speakers hooked up to the amp, and I'm gonna wire my rear speakers to the head unit, and I'm gonna do that until I can get a new stereo that has 3 RCA inputs. And I was messing with the gains a little bit. I'm still not sure how I'm gonna set up everything, so for now I'm just gonna put everything back together, wire my front speakers or my rear speakers to the head unit, put all these panels back together, and install the voltmeter, and I think I'm gonna be done for today. But anyways, if I don't finish this video, that's all, folks. So I got everything put together nicely, and I realized that I was able to change the settings on my head unit to where the RCA input would work for my full range speakers in the back. So I got that set up, and I'm gonna let you guys listen to it. Yeah, it really sounds nice. It bumps really good. I think the next thing I'm gonna do is put some sound deadening on every door, and that should be nice. I'm gonna make a video on that. But I think this is the end of this one, so peace.